comments and questions from the public? I see none. What's that?
Feel free.
Is there somebody that made noise?
Yeah, it was me, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, okay, okay.
I won't raise my hand.
All right, so in a typical, we would pros and cons, but this just takes us into closing. Is that correct? Okay. At this time, I would like to close the hearing at, let's see,
6:38.
6:38 on 8/1. I would like to entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to sign application when completed. So you guys entertaining a motion?
I'll make a motion for the mayor to sign the application.
Do we have a first, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Minutes, minutes must reflect the following is included in discussion. The amount of CDBG funds expected to be made available for this current fiscal year, including the grant participating program. The range of activities that may be undertaken with the grant funds. The estimated amount of grant funds proposed to be used for activities that will meet the national objective of benefit to low and moderate income persons. The proposed activities likely to result in displacement or the local government anti-displacement relocation plans required under 24 CFR Part 570.488, Part 570.606, and Part 42. The final signed and approved meeting minutes must be recorded document that items A through D above were addressed during the public meeting.
Well done, sir.
Can I make a point for the record?
Yes,
I
please.
would like to let everybody know that the public hearing announcements were posted on the city's website, the City Hall Community Board, the Sheridan Library Community Board, and on the city's Facebook page.
Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent.
FYI, good to know where it was posted in both English and Spanish. And that's it until 7 o'clock, I guess,
Wow.
unless you wanna go.
This is your meeting? That's
Do you wanna keep going?
6:30, you can just keep going.
I'll open this up for public comment period.
Okay, going to also lose the text and let her know that we're gonna keep going.
Tell her we're miserable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just give the red. Your presentations are gonna be coming in at 7. So,
Would you like to pause the meeting until 7?
I don't think so, we don't have to, why don't you go ahead and take public comments?
Okay, I'd like to open up public comment. Anybody has, be nice if I read this. Public comment portion of the agenda is opportunity for council to listen to the public, but not for dialogue. The public is allowed up to 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city. The topic issue brought up may be referred by the council to the city manager for inclusion on a subsequent council agenda. Council has the discretion to ask questions after comments are concluded. Please note, complaints should be first addressed to the appropriate city department and or the city manager prior to addressing the council. At this time, is there anybody from the public who would like to speak? I see none. The mayor does have one comment he'd like to share with everybody. So, the mayor shared about the fence at the high school that was needing to be replaced and brought to our attention and such.
I didn't have this in because it doesn't belong to me.
Okay.
I got it from my brother, but my brother didn't give it to me, but it's not mine. I didn't
Looks like a mobile phone.
She's nice. So, last week there was a meeting with the school board with a bond measure being proposed. I was at one of the people doing a presentation for possible, we're putting a bond for the Sheridan School District. I had shared about, the fence and not being secure and whatnot. The following day, after left the meeting, I was made aware that the school district found funds to replace that section of fence plus one. So they're, all set and, ready to go, taking care of it. They're hiring an outside outfit and securing Sheridan. So that was pretty cool. This nice discussion. Okay, so shifting gears, we'll come back to the presentation. Business item, discussion of homelessness. In your packet, you've got a full printout from Jerry Gillen, City Manager of Sutherland. And I'd like to open the council for any discussion, comments, concerns. Jim?
I did read the entire set of different things that were available to us. And one thing that I noticed right away, it's pretty obvious in Sheridan especially, is every one of these solutions they presented that are good solutions require money. They're talking about remodeling hotels and motels, and we don't even have a hotel and motel to remodel, let alone the money to that if we had one. So we're already on the power to assist in helping the homeless. One of the things I thought of, actually, I'll be honest, and I brought this up to me, and she's absolutely right. I think it might be better if we try to pool our resources and work with Willamette and Grand Ron in order to see if there's funds available from any of them, cost included, to try and help the homeless. What I decided as I was going through here is that we have to start by shooting for the low barrier choice, which is basically a place to throw your tent, but that would be the first start of going towards something much better than just that. But even that, at least in my opinion, looking at the budget and looking at our funds and space we have available, even that's going to be a bit of a challenge just to find minimal facilities like a bathroom and a place to shower and things like that. So that is probably where we would, if we were able to do anything, that would be where we'd have to start. It isn't where we finish, hopefully.
Sure.
To start. That's what I got after reading all of this. I mean, there's some great things out there, but pretty sad about when you don't have money, it's hard to help people.
It's hard to have nice things without money.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Sandy, did you have any feedback or anything on homeless package?
Well, just like Jim says, if you don't have the money, it's hard to do, and from when I got on the council 4 years ago, I went around to all the churches and was trying to say, if somebody could help one night a week. And what I got back on the feedback is their insurance, and they couldn't do the separation, and, it was just a lot of legal problems with that.
Right.
So, there's people out there that want to help, but then there's a lot of legal ramifications of doing things too.
I know the Nazarene Church up the street wanted to do some things and remodel one of the bathrooms to create showers and stuff, but a lot of the red tape and the funds and And then if you create a shower, then it has to be compliant.
ADA compliant.
So,
And I remember from the last meeting, Walt, you were mentioning, well, actually it's in our paper, brought it up that we could actually try and be helpful. Somebody gets hurt and then we're liable, so we've actually created a problem rather than help. So that's sad, but it's, in this day and age, it's true.
so Roxy, what we did is we had a public hearing. We took care of that, and then we kind of moved down, and we're gonna come back to the two presentations, that's, and right now, we're throwing around the discussion about the homelessness. Rose, did you have any input, any thoughts?
Just one thing that I noticed that I'm commenting on later, they work with nonprofits, with water resources, it seems like a group effort to kind of build the solution, it's not just a one size fits all for any place, yeah, it will take funding, of course, but, you know, having these discussions every time and any presentations that we have will be good as far as making decisions in the future.
How about you, Jimmy?
Well, it's an ongoing problem in the last few years. There's been some solutions. Some people, some places, I have a friend who, he was homeless just until recently, actually. Like on a court, he turned south and did some things. Anyway, he got sobered up and he got enough money, he bought an RV, and he found a place, a personally owned place, piece of property. This guy let, I think it was, this is important for Vancouver, 25 different units into his property. And then they had to manage it themselves. And no drugs, no making messes. And if they did, they got thrown out. And they had to sign a paper to do that. And my partner said it worked quite well. They did, once they saw that they were throwing people out, and they caught somebody doing any drug activity, they were gone. But you gotta have somebody that's got the property. And, they had toilets. I don't know who took care of that, who paid for the cleaning of the toilets, but the people with RVs, I know, they would have to take them out and dump them, bring them back. So these weren't non-running RVs, they had to be able to move. And, so I know, Dad lived there for about 2 years, we lived on his feet and turned into an apartment. And he got to be the Gestapo for about 6 months. That was pretty interesting. But it worked, and as far as I know today, it's still working. But that doesn't work everywhere.
No, because, homeless, you got certain addictions that come into play. And you also got mental health, and then sometimes they overlap.
Yep.
I know in my case, in the early 90s, I was homeless for about 3 years. And it took being handed a book. Everybody's different, what it takes to get you through. I never had a drug or alcohol issue, I just didn't have choices. So that's why I'm really excited about the CTEC program, is that it gives trade and tax and hands-on approach, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Heidi, what was your take on the homeless?
Thank you for asking me, Mayor. You do have an ARPA funds that you have earmarked, for Sheridan Road, I believe, that you do have $1,379,668,000. $1,379,668 in ARPA funds, and that can be used for homeless. City of Salem used every single drop of theirs to make a difference.
Is Sheridan Road, sorry, I got you on the
That's okay. It's used earmarked, I believe, to make improvements to Sheridan Road for water and sewer to go along with the water project that we have. So that would be a significant, it's not enough for either. But it does make a significant punch definitely at Sheridan Road. And getting it to the point where you guys have requested it be, to serve more traffic. That process is not gonna be fun, by the way, to get there. The different routes of what you're gonna have to make choices for widening Sheridan Road or providing a sidewalk are gonna be difficult conversations later down the road. But that money, I just want you to be sure that you know that that money can also be used for things like homelessness. I want you to know that you have flexibility with that money. Good to know that you have an option.
Sure, Jim?
One thing, you would suggest it, I don't think it was directly related to homelessness, but suggested, let's get all the local groups together, the church groups, the nonprofits, the Rotary, the Chamber, everybody in one room, and let's start taking a chop at this, see what everybody else's ideas are, and see if anybody has room for, some sort of site to start with. So I think that would be a good thing to do, but I don't know exactly how to go about, it's tough to get everybody together in one room.
I think we can do like an invitation, so that can be the next piece of this, if that's our next step, is to try to have, do you think that one or two of you would be best to be along to that group, or is that something during the city council meeting that you, like a work session that you wanna set up special, where you're having like a round table? What does this look like?
My thought was just me, I was thinking obviously a round table, but
Okay.
the more the merrier, because just sitting here, I might have an idea, but Rose might have an entirely different idea, and it's better than mine, but it may be presented if she wasn't at the meeting, the same with Sandy. And we've all got some thoughts, and so having, lots of people there,
Lots of people, like a town hall.
very similar to that, yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's gonna be tougher to find a place to do that with the Monroe Center closed.
When does the Monroe Center close?
The 31st of August is its last day.
Well, okay, let's look at the calendar. I think somebody has a question.
I just wanna know if we could include the county. I think that's gonna be a big part of this too.
Yeah, can somebody please tell me about your relationship with the county commissioners regarding homelessness? I have been whispered things in my ear, but I don't know that I have very good information. I guess the county commissioners at some point have tried to take up the topic of homelessness.
They,
Does anybody know?
Paul
anything?
probably knows more about this than I do, but I know they had quite a problem with the parking lot at the courthouse. They were moving in there and made it a real mess. And the city, I'm not sure what they did.
The city started enforcement activities. It's a city garage, so.
Yeah. So I don't know where those people moved to, but I know. And there you go again, you've got a different categories of homeless. Some can get a camper, some only have a tarp.
Right.
This is so hard to tackle. I understand, I haven't done your, but I guess Joe knows the part.
Well, some of you may have read that, part of the process in homelessness is figuring out how to provide opportunities and services. Another part of the process is enforcing your provisions related to, basically camping on public property, or private property for that matter, if it's being done illegally. And the legislature adopted, standards for seizing private property, which, some of which we have provided you some language to incorporate into your code. So you have that language that you were provided, I think it was a month ago or so. So that's part of the process, is to not only create the opportunities and the services, but also create the ability to enforce people who are not really interested in your services. And that takes a place to be able to tow something, and the ability to be able to secure it behind a fence, and take care of it for 30 days, and inventory it. And some of you may have read that McMinnville just closed a lease on a piece of property where they are going to be doing that now. So that has slowed their process down in terms of some of what you see at Johansen Park, or Marsh Lane, or Dustin Court, or some of the other places. And that's kind of the flip side of the process, is not only services but enforcement. And so that is part of the conversation that's before you over the next months. about a year from now, some statutory stuff is gonna go into effect, it's gonna make enforcement harder if you're not set up for it. So, it's time.
So Mayor, I think our speaker, are you Ashley?
Yeah, I am. I am waiting for Laverne Pitts, so we
You are,
should be here,
okay,
yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
So we do have YCAP tonight to speak. We're having Ashley and
Laverne.
Laverne come speak to you, and then later Jennifer will be here. Just wanted to check in and make sure that our speakers are ready.
That's great. Throw the off, start with-
But maybe Ashley will have more information too about the county's efforts as a whole, or what's been happening out here in this area. But it sounds like that you would like me to set up a date for the public to come and have a round, or a town hall session. Now, let me tell you the difference a little bit. The town hall would be the public coming in and expressing it. A round table would be more like you're inviting service groups, right? And then, or agencies, and they give you feedback, and then come for the opportunity to have collaboration, or brainstorm, or get somewhere, or establish a group, refine it down to a group of people that are gonna look into this. So that's kind of how I see the differences, two different routes to go.
Well, it would be great if we start with the town hall, get people involved, get to know who does what and who's interested and who can help us. And then go to the round table to a few of those and go from there.
Okay.
Sounds like a start.
The town
I was
hall is-
thinking just the opposite. If you start with the groups, the round table, you find out what people have available, or what they're thinking, and hopefully the round table can at least come to a consensus of some sort. And then have your town hall meeting, and say, hey, here's what this group has thought, what do you think of that? And then you have more to add. That's why I thought, we're.
But the town hall is more of them giving information to us, it's not as much back and forth.
The town hall is every citizen, every resident, every business person being invited to speak and tell you about even how they feel about it.
And we may get people that think we shouldn't be spending our money on this. I mean, I would like to start with that and then work with people that we know that are interested and have some contacts and maybe some more information, and we can maybe move forward from there.
So it sounds like the town hall is not only an opportunity for residents or people that are involved with the Sheridan community, but it's also an opportunity for people to step forward and offer what they have to help. Right? Okay. All right, so that's where we're starting?
And also, I would say,
Oh, yeah.
everyone in the 97378 area code, because this isn't just a city problem, it goes well beyond. And I bet people at Rock Creek Road would have a.
You mean
Because you got Rock Creek Road, you got East and West Main.
Exactly. And I think, that,
Like a large mailer.
I don't
Or a
know the best way to do it, but
Oh, that we can do this, huh?
The every door direct mail, EDD.
Okay. We need maybe a bigger spot than the Monroe Center or something like this, maybe a high school gym.
high school gym is where we
Okay.
had our last huge group.
Okay, great. How about a day of the week and a time, and then Yvonne and I'll start putting this together.
My preference would be a Wednesday.
Wednesday? Sure.
Every day's Wednesday for me.
How about Wednesday the 24th? Seems like that's pretty good before we get into school, kinda. No?
Well, I was thinking sooner so that we could.
Sooner? Well, we gotta be sure to give people enough notification.
That's not far off.
No, it isn't, I know. Okay. Scratch what I said.
Wednesday the 24th?
Sure.
Okay, Wednesday the 24th. We're gonna get cookies?
All different kinds.
Okay, cookies is me on.
Cookies. I'm gonna put that in my minutes.
Do we establish high school?
Do chocolate chip with it,
Yeah, what time are we doing this?
6:30.
6:30? Okay. That might be one of our presenters. I think we're gonna have a couple, or actually. Yeah, it's Jen. Okay.
over to my desk.
Okay, so, is there any other questions, or that's my next step that you want me to work on for you?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Yep, you got it. Okay, well, we have a couple of presenters tonight, Jennifer, do you mind if we go, YCAP was listening first, is it okay if they go first? Sure.
Yeah, Nicole Klein is also going to be logging in, named Chantel.
Okay, sounds good, so we'll hold off just on your group just for a little bit, and we'll let YCAP go first. Hello, thanks for coming.
Thank
It's been a minute.
for having
An awkward area for a podium, but
It's okay.
have. And these don't mind the people that sit in the dark. Oh, my goodness.
Violet.
Yes, that's a warning.
Everything's falling apart.
Don't make me spin my fin.
I don't know how that happened, Debbie, but doing that.
You're in charge of telling
I'll let you break that news to her.
Put your finger
I'll
on
fill in.
it.
There you go.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
We're
I
ready.
brought a few materials for people
Oh,
as
good.
well.
Good.
So here are some access cards, which is what we're putting around town
Okay.
for individuals to be able to contact us at this
Okay.
time.
In English and Spanish, great.
English and Spanish. And then here are the last like 3 newsletters. I brought in hopefully enough for the house members who would like one. That will also have some information as to the work that we're currently undertaking.
Okay, great. And the rest of these will split between the library and city hall.
Okay,
Is that okay?
sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Three in the back row here.
So, my name's Laverne Pitts. I'm the development director for YCAP. I've been there for about 3.5 years. And so I'm here today to sort of present to you, we've had some questions regarding housing and homeless issues in the area. And so I'm happy to kind of give you a quick overview of YCAP. And then we also have Ashley Parker. And you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm the regional homeless manager at YCAP. And so a big part of my role is housing initiatives. And so different ways that people who are experiencing homelessness or housing instability access services through YCAP is my main role there.
So I'm going to start off just a real quick overview real fast. YCAP's been in existence since 1980. We're a community action agency founded underneath the auspices of part of the Johnson administration, which means we are connected to a national network of community action agencies. And then regionally in Oregon, we're also connected to CAPO, which is the Community Action Partnership of Oregon. We work in tandem with 17 other community action agencies across the state to work with the state legislature in terms of funding needs for homelessness, energy services, youth services, as well as the food bank. Those are our 4 main areas. So the food bank is the one that we're probably most well known for, and as you know, we have a significant support of Sheridan with our food bank. And then our youth services have been primarily sort of at the drop-in center. We do serve outside of that area. We do serve the whole county. We do outreach in specific communities. But we are actually looking at opening a new drop-in center in McMinnville, which will be opening up in the next year. So we're really excited about that because that will be a lot closer for youth who are in this area to be able to access services. In addition, we have our energy services and we just added the water services. So I just wanted to kind of give a brief overview of those, that those are kind of our current things that we're working on outside of housing. So let me give you the kind of brief housing talk of what we've been doing ever since COVID started. So housing previously with YCAP was underneath the auspices of one director who was over both housing and youth outreach. And we had 8 employees. So needless to say, there was not, weren't doing like as much as what we're doing now. So during COVID, what happened was right before COVID, a decision had already been made to split the positions so that we could expand our reach in housing. So we invested in having a full-time director over housing and a full-time director over youth outreach. Then COVID hit, and we started our emergency motel sheltering program. That emergency motel sheltering program has now led into the turnkey program, and which is the motel which we purchased on 99 West in McMinnville. That had been utilized as an emergency motel shelter for about 1.5 years, and we were able to purchase it by using the turnkey funding that we received through the Oregon Community Foundation to establish a turnkey program at that site. We have also received funding to create a navigation center in McMinnville. Originally, that was spearheaded by Ron Noble, who secured that funding for the city of McMinnville to have the navigation center. YCAP was chosen to lead the effort, and we are going to be utilizing our 2 shelters, which are just slightly south of downtown in McMinnville, near the fire station. We have 2 shelters there that are going to be converted into it's going to be called Any Door Place. It's a navigation center. So it'll be a shelter, a day center, and wraparound services are going to be at that location. So I just wanted to kind of briefly get you up to speed as to some of the efforts and work that we're doing. We're also going to be part of the Measure 110 Behavioral Resource Network program in regards to substance use disorders as well as mental health. Yes.
What is a navigation center?
A navigation center is an area that provides more than just an overnight shelter. So it provides a day center. So individuals, for example, when it's really hot, like it has been the last week, it provides a cooling shelter. So it's basically like a neighborhood drop-in site where people can come in, get something to drink, they can get some water, get some coffee, use the restroom, take a shower, do laundry, all of those basic life things that are hard to do when you do not have a home. So there's an opportunity at the Navigation Center for them to do that as a day center. Then in addition to that, there will be an overnight shelter component, which we are currently working with First Baptist in order to run that shelter. And then we will provide also wraparound services, case managers on site, as well as opportunities for other partner agencies to come in and provide services. For example, mental health through the county, workforce development, substance use treatment, and connections to services. Provoking Hope can come in on site. Several other partners that we're already partnered with through the burn as well as through previous work will be able to work on site with individuals to address those barriers. But it's a very low barrier shelter model. Just that first step, getting people in the door so that you can start assessing where they're at. And Ashley, if you want to pitch in a little bit more.
Yeah, so the Navigation Center is designed basically to be the first touch point of services. So right now in McMinnville, apart from turnkey, which has a wait list for it, we don't have an open drop-in center for people to just access services from any variety, whether that's rental assistance, or if they're experiencing housing instability. It could be also connecting someone with resources to access food stamps or sign their family up for a TANF. So it is housing centered, and we obviously do offer the shelter, but essentially we would like to connect them with the areas in their life or barriers that they're currently experiencing and resources that they need in order to move forward in whatever capacity that would look like.
What became apparent over the previous to COVID was that the way the original YCAP canvas was designed, it was not designed to be a day center. And so we would end up having a lot of people coming there expecting it to be kind of a day center, and it was not designed to be a day center. It was primarily a headquarters office building that had a food bank warehouse attached to it. So we did not have shower facilities, we did not have laundry facilities, we did not have appropriate bathroom facilities to have a lot of people coming in. We didn't really have the security level that you need to have for that. There were just a lot of different issues related to that facility. Which again, at the time, it was 12 years ago, things changed fast at the housing area. So it wasn't anticipated at the time when they built that facility that was what the need would be. But that need has manifested over time. Our housing department, which like I said, pre-COVID was 8, we are now at 24. They no longer fit in that facility, which is why we have not reopened it. And that's why we're using the access cards to be able to have people access it remotely. So what we're going to now have is more of a diversified model. So there are case managers that are located at the turnkey program. There are case managers that will be located at the Navigation Center, which we're calling Any Door Place. And there will be case managers that then will still operate out of the YCAP office, but they'll mainly be doing phone intake over the phone, that sort of thing. Just because, again, that facility was not designed to have a large lobby or a place where people could hang out, get coffee. I mean, it just wasn't designed with that in mind. So, and over the years, that became, obvious, so.
Jim, you mentioned handling drug issues. You also attempt to help with the mental health issues as well. It's a tough thing
Yes.
to do, but is that part of your?
We have partners that we refer. So we do not have, the staff. So
Yeah,
I'll
for
let
our,
Ashley
yeah,
speak
for our
to that.
housing stabilization department or for places like the navigation center, none of YCAP staff are certified as like a counselor or a mental health professional. One of the requirements for a lot of our case managers is an educational experience with mental health or social work. We do partner with Providence, like in the Newburgh Emergency Shelter, so they do have certified staff that will come and do mental health check-ins. They also do like a physical, what your normal primary care would do. So we do have partners with those agencies that will come in who are certified in order to conduct those types of assessments. And that will be something that we will expand into the navigation center also. So we are trying to develop and strengthen that partnership with Providence Healthcare to have that service for people available.
And in addition to that, Yamhill County Health and Human Services, they're the lead partner on the Behavioral Health Resource Network. And as such, they also are heavily involved in that work. There's also an agency out of Portland that did receive funding to do work in Yamhill County that's related to substance use disorders. And then Provoking Hope is going to be ramping up their work substantially because of the funding that they received from Measure 110. So the Measure 110 funding, we are currently in the place between, we've been told how much we're receiving. We're in the sort of contract negotiation portion of that funding. And so we're hoping to see that over the next few months, and that'll start coming into the county to provide some expansion of services in regards to substance use.
So I'm under the impression that Provoking Hope can, in their consultations, do referrals for mental health also. Can
Yes,
they?
I believe so,
So
yes.
that would be another avenue to get those referrals.
They're a peer support network, rather than being a provider, but they do provide that avenue for individuals who need that next step, in order to stabilize. We also have a significant number of individuals, not mental health, but physical health, that we have been working with in the turnkey program. So, that's another important part of our partnership with Providence. And when we started the emergency motel shelter program, that was our biggest cohort, were individuals who were on dialysis, chemotherapy, all of these other issues that they had, and at the same time, they were homeless, pregnant, having a baby, going back to a car with the baby. We did not want those situations to continue, and so that was our primary group that, especially during COVID, that was the primary group that went into the emergency motel shelter program. So while we still have that group, we are also expanding it to the chronically homeless as well, who may not have those significant health barriers, but may have other things like substance use, mental health, things of that nature. So it went from a physical health to where now it's more of an overall health perspective.
Roxy,
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
I was just listening to what you say, and it's so interesting. Because I know that Sheridan cannot do all of that too, so we're gonna have to depend on you for a lot of that assessment,
Mhm.
and be able to, at some point in time, take over, the other parts of the homeless part, that we can do. So that's why I think it's so important to be in good contact with you, so that we can work with each other
Mhm.
to help solve this problem, because we can't do all that too.
I understand that completely, and we're really hoping that once the navigation centers are up in McMinnville, we also are looking at a partnership potentially in Newburgh that might create a navigation center in Newburgh. We're sort of exploring that right now. And then hopefully we can, maybe look forward to other models in other areas where there might be shelter programs that could be expanded, with this in mind, of being able to be more of a holistic model. So that when somebody comes in and spends the night, it's not just spending one night in a shelter, but they're able to also have those touch points with the other services that they need in order to take those next steps forward. As well as having the day center, because during the day, you can have more conversations, you can sit down with people. At night, you're pretty much, you're tired from a long day, you just want to kind of go to sleep. But if you can have that day center element open, it fosters more of that conversation in our location. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah, definitely. And a big part of expansion, so obviously anyone who is in Sheridan who is currently experiencing homelessness or housing instability can access services through YCAP. So a big part of my job, especially for people experiencing homelessness, is to target where people live. So are they in Sheridan, are they in McMinnville, are they in Newburgh? What does affordable housing in those areas look like? What are specific barriers to that particular city? And so a part of that is collecting data. And so we do know, I did want to share that currently on our by name list, which it's basically people who have contacted YCAP within the past 90 days seeking services, are on what's called a by name list. And so currently we have 270 people within Yamhill County who are experiencing homelessness and have communicated a need. Of those, 16 have registered in Sheridan. So we know that at least 16 people in some capacity here in Sheridan are experiencing homelessness. It is a transient community, obviously, so some people go back and forth between Newburgh and McMinnville and Sheridan based on what other resources are available. So that data is not concrete, but we do know that 16 people, at least out of that 250, are experiencing homelessness here and or looking for housing here. And so, yeah, all of those resources are available.
First off, I want to say thank you for your work. Thank you for putting forward daily and doing all of it. I also want to thank you. A long time ago, I worked for the city of Amity, and now I work for the city of Sheridan, and you have always been so gracious at giving funds to support people for their water and sewer bills, and you've been very easy to work with on the city side. Thank you for that. That sometimes that Band-Aid, that little bit of funds can take a lot of pressure off of people. We see it on our side when they come in and they're very grateful. So I don't know if you get to see that too much on your side. The other thing is we are going to have this town hall, and on, what did we decide, Wednesday, August 24th at 6:30, hopefully at the high school, and we're going to just open it up and have people come in that want to express things about homelessness or houselessness, and also to people that provide support. So you're very much invited to be a part of that conversation. We don't know where this is going to take us. We are the third largest city in Yamhill County, and I have a feeling that there's probably more than 16 that are on the brinks of it as well. So I would like us to stay in communication, as Counselor says. And I also want us to start thinking about what it looks like what Sheridan itself should be doing more to putting out the word, or whether it's some sort of a day center that we try to figure out, or what this looks like, or a navigation opportunity. We also do have the director of the food bank of our food bank here. I don't know.
We love you guys.
You're pretty low.
They've had some awesome stories of success come through their food bank, so,
That's true.
yeah.
We've had some real good ones.
Yeah.
We've had people go from homeless to working full-time.
Yeah.
Feels good.
It does.
Makes you feel good.
And we also have Gwen, who's our library director.
Hi.
She is here for the conversation about the homeless and the houselessness, because she serves in that capacity to help with people. Because there's a lot of people that come over there for the cooling center or the heating, or just to sit and be. So Gwen is also a part of our conversation.
That's wonderful. Yeah, the libraries, that's the thing, the public buildings that sort of become those navigation, we think in terms of navigation center, the libraries, the other public buildings often become de facto sort of centers, like day centers and things of that nature, but they're not necessarily designed for that. You don't have the right facilities there to do everything that somebody needs to do. And so that's where having some investment, and we've been able to secure that investment. So, that's a big part of my work, on the development side, is bringing in those resources. And, I did not want to let the COVID money pass us by without us getting a chunk for Yamhill County. So we worked really hard to make sure we were in that room and got those funds to be able to do the navigation center and in McMinnville, as well as to the turnkey program, to be able to buy that building and get that program foothold, because, you know, there was an opportunity in terms of all of that funding, and I just did not want to see this community not receive that. So that's been a big part of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years, has been really bringing in as many resources as we can. One of the other things we've done is diversified our resource base. It used to mainly go through OHCS, but we've also now received funding through, which is the Oregon Community Housing Services?
Yeah.
Services. And then now we also receive Oregon Health Authority funding, as well as funding from Oregon Workforce, Oregon Department of Education. So a lot of that was sort of broadening who we were approaching within the state to start bringing more of those resources into the county, because we really just had kind of one state agency engaged with us, and this was an opportunity for us to sort of go to all of the state agencies and say, hey, wait a minute, we should be at that table, and this table, and that table, and really start pulling those resources into our county, so that we're able to help the people that live here, so.
So one thing I'd like to add is, I was ignorant to it, is the amazing people down with the food bank. They came down here looking for assistance, and I've been volunteering ever since, and I just love it, but they work like a well-oiled machine. And it's just incredible, and to the leadership and to the staff, some of the folks have been volunteering 8, 10, 12 years.
Well, I've been there almost 11, Joyce has been there almost 12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I used to work with YCAP.
yeah, the food bank, you have an amazing food bank here. You have an amazing food pantry here. They really do incredible work, and we're really proud to partner with them and be able to support them. So it's, you know, it's one of those, every time I hear them going down to Sheridan, it's like 200 people showed up, or, you know, needing food boxes. I mean, you have a lot of need in the really rural areas, and we're, you know, we're trying to make sure we can help meet that need. But, you know, it's getting a little tough right now. There's not a lot of overage at the grocery stores as much as there used to be. There's, you know,
Things are a lot worse right now.
yeah, things are a lot worse on the food side. You know, it's kind of one of those things, you kind of shift from food being, you know, right at the beginning of COVID, food was the big issue. And then about a year or so in, it all shifted over to housing. And I'm really concerned about the current food prices that, you know, we're gonna start seeing sort of a double whammy, both the rent and the food. And that's gonna be really tough for some people who are on the edge.
So thank you.
So when somebody comes, I happen to be in the downtown sector, people come in looking for, you know, houses or something like that, and they're kind of in duress. And I don't do property management, I'm a realtor. So if I could sense, and I'm pretty good about it, the duress they're going through, and if they were kind of at wit's sense, because there's not a lot of housing available, even apartments in Sheridan, which I try to tell them about, would it be advisable to give them this card and say these folks might be able to help you?
Yes, definitely. So all of our housing resources are accessed through that number.
Yeah, this has got a lot of
Yeah.
information, and so my next question is, can I please have some extra money?
Yeah.
I promised not
And
to
then
do
just
that.
so
You
you
might need more of yours.
So whenever you do,
I was hoping
whenever an
somebody would
individual.
say that
Yes, and honestly, they come in and they ask
Yeah.
everything from
There you go.
busing to food, to shelter,
Right.
to places they can camp at night.
Yeah.
And, you know, I try to help them the best, but this, I was reading in here, and there's just, and I've heard, is this correct, Heidi, that, because I didn't know if I don't take the bus, but bus service is now free between Sheridan and McMinnville, so you wouldn't even have to buy them a bus ticket, because they can actually take the bus up there to be able to get help, especially with children. So that's very good to know. I did not know that till tonight either, so thank you.
Heidi, did you have something?
I just wanted to thank you so much, and I
really want you to also think about staying for our next presenter. If you haven't met her yet, it's Jennifer Worth, and it's the Great Circle Recovery. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's a mobile unit that she's just started in Referral, and she's here in Sheridan. So if you don't mind, I'd love to invite you to speak on that. Thank you so much for your work, and please keep it up.
What was that? Women.
It is.
Oh, I put it there.
It's Ashley Parker and Laverne Pitts, Pitts.
I'm gonna be giving you guys a call soon, so thank you so much for work. I really, just can't say enough about the need for wraparound services and innovative, ways to use 110 money, so thank you so much for what you're all doing. Yamhill County is actually my stomping grounds. I grew up there, moved away, came back, so I just thank you for everything you're doing there. I work with the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, so that's probably why you guys haven't heard about us, because our funding comes from, instead of the state and the federal government, they do the same thing, but it comes to the tribe. And this is the first time in Oregon when a tribe is able to see tribal members and the wider community. So we see anybody who has an opioid use disorder, whether they're native or non-native. So our specialty is actually treating the opioid crisis. And the reason it's so important to talk to you all is because a lot of that a lot of addiction is fueling some of the homelessness issues we have, along with all of the social determinants of health. So our clinic, we specialize in opioid use disorder. We specifically focus right now on helping people deal with fentanyl. And it used to be a lot of heroin, and then people were coming off of pain medications. Now, with the onset of synthetic opioids, it's just so much fentanyl. Oregon is saturated in a drug called fentanyl, and so we spend a lot of our days providing, helping people get out of withdrawals and getting them inducted on the medication. So Great Circle Recovery is a treatment program. Right now we're located in Salem. We have a 24,000 square foot building that we're in. We're using 6,000 square feet of it. I'm expanding the other side out. So right now we treat people primarily for opioids. We also provide some treatment for meth as secondary. And we provide, along with the medication, we do peer support, counseling, case management, and some of those wraparound services that you all are talking about. In order to help alleviate and get to people, we also developed Oregon's first mobile medication-assisted treatment. And we go from Salem to Sheridan, or Grand Ronde to Sheridan to McMinnville, Monday through Friday. We work with Project Hope, or Project Able, Provoking Hope. We just started partnering with some of the folks in Yamhill County. So hopefully we'll be able to partner with you guys. Right now we're just parking in front of Project Able, and we have a lot of, our census is growing. We've been operating for about 3 weeks in McMinnville, and McMinnville is our spot where there's just a huge amount of need for medication-assisted treatment because they don't have access to anything but Suboxone there. And with fentanyl, you really need a more powerful medication to help people fight the cravings and not continue that addiction cycle. So we're able to provide that for them. We also work on the housing issue. Our case manager works really closely with folks on employment, access to housing. We just had a resource fair in our parking lot on Friday, and it was amazing. We had public health, HIV Alliance, Project Able was there, the Rock Center was there, which is a huge peer-run center in Salem. So we're growing our partnerships and just trying to be of service. We have about 200 patients right now in the clinic, and the mobile unit is continuing to expand as well. So we really want to help Sheridan, because we're part of Grand Ronde, we also, our primary service is to kind of help expand services to tribal members. But we've been working with everyone for the last year and a half. Any questions about medication-assisted treatment? I know that's kind of a funny word, but basically what that means is we take people that are really sick and sometimes doing a lot of things like trying to get the drugs, committing crimes, doing whatever it takes to not be sick. And we take them, bring them into a safe space, see them every single day, monitor them with a physician, treat their opioid use disorder, and try to help get their brain a little bit calmer so they can actually respond to treatment and therapy. Because until you calm those cravings down, they can't really, they're kind of, their opioid receptors are basically hijacked. So it's really important to destigmatize medicine as a tool in the toolbox for recovery. Some people do abstinence and it works great. They just stop and they go through the withdrawals, they detox. Some people need, that works for maybe 20% of the population. The rest of the population are gonna suffer and struggle. So we need to embrace medicine as part of one of the tools that we have and utilize it appropriately and help these people get stability, get into recovery. And recovery has a lot of different paths. So that's kind of my message. And a lot of our clients we see are homeless. And then we have folks who have jobs. It kind of runs addiction has no definition. It impacts all of us in many different ways. So I'm just here to say thank you for being an amazing community partner. We park in front of the Legion, I think it's the American Legion Hall, is that what it's called, Heidi?
Yes.
Yeah, every day, and we are just working on growing our census in Sheridan.
And Jennifer, thank you so much for your work. You've come in a quick amount of time. Yvonne brought you back in my office, I don't even know if it's been a month, and she just hit the ground going. Jennifer has been fighting hard for her belief and her dream and her mission. And she is the first, will you please share your stats? You were the first mobile clinic. Share your stat,
in Oregon,
point here.
Really hard to keep a clinic going because they're really hard to regulate. My specialty is I'm a clinical social worker, but I build treatment centers, operate them, get them going. We built the mobile unit in January, and it took the state 6 months to get operating rules so we could get it out on the road. And I already had the staff hired, I had the unit built, so as soon as we got those OARs pushed through, we were ready to go. Sorry. So basically, once we could get it operational, we got it on the road, and we've only been in operation for a short period of time, but we rely on our community partners so we can provide the medication, support our patients, and then really connect with all the resources in the communities that we go. So Provoking Hope, Project Able, I'm hoping to talk to YCAP next.
Yeah. And you were the first mobile lab sponsored by a tribe, right? Which is also
one of the
a
old
big deal.
mobile fire country owned and operated by a tribe. There's 9 confederated tribes in the state of Oregon, owned and operated by confederated tribes of Grand Ronde, out in Grand Ronde, your neighbors in Sheridan. And we also were the first opioid treatment program in the entire state of Oregon that's owned and operated by a tribe and sees all tribal members and the wider community, because the tribe understands that the opioid crisis is so big that it impacts their community, their tribal community, and the friends and the family and the cousins and the uncles of folks who aren't tribal but are also impacted by addiction. So that's Grand Ronde's vision, is to support either community. So it's really exciting that they have that vision, and the tribal council has just been so supportive of our work, of getting the building, letting me kind of get all these things going so we could fight the opioid crisis.
I have a big thank you for the tribe for allowing you to be over here in Sheridan to do your work. Thank you to the tribe for supporting that. Yeah. So,
Yeah, are there any questions that I can answer about medication-assisted treatment or fentanyl, heroin, opioid, and anything with treatment?
I'd like to ask a question, please. I was trying to whisper it to you. I don't even know why I did that. We have later on in our packets tonight about this psilocybin distribution and the effects versus Suboxone, for addiction. And, the benefits, I don't know, first of all, if you're familiar here with psilocybin in treatment, but it says that it can help and address depression, anxiety, trauma, and addiction. And I was wondering if, A, you possibly use that as a form of treatment, and or B, what you think about it as a form of treatment.
So my professional
Just your
opinion
opinion,
right now
yes.
is that there's still a lot of research that needs to be done. It's very interesting as a possibility, but there's still a lot of research, and it's still kind of they're discovering it, and there's a lot more research that needs to be done before we can get it, implemented like that. So right now, our preferred methodology is methadone, Suboxone, buprenorphine, Vivitrol, Subutex. These are all well-known, well-studied medications that actually address the receptors for the opioids. And in terms of the trauma and some of the other stuff, that is all connected through, psychotherapy and kind of like assessing folks for whatever their treatment needs are. And you kind of need what's called a dual diagnosis approach. So you need to be able to assess for substance use and mental health, but you can't really assess somebody's full mental health picture until they've had about 6 months, of recovery time, so you can really see what's going on with them. I don't know if that answers your question, but basically I would say right now there needs to be more research on it. I'm not opposed to it, but I definitely would want to see a little more science.
And actually, that's what I'm
Behind
doing,
it.
by asking you is doing some fact finding, kind of cheating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jennifer, I have a question. You just mentioned,
Okay.
you mentioned the psychiatric/psychological effects. After someone has reduced their addiction to whatever they're addicted to, does your Great Circle Recovery have the ability to provide mental health services?
We are working on that in the 24,000 square foot building that we have. If they're tribal, we have everything in one. At the tribal campus, we have everything, including intensive outpatient, substance use, their physical health. Right now, we had to set up the opioid treatment program, but in our expansion, we got some, YCAP was talking about the Measure 110 money and the burn grant. We also, as a tribe, received some of that money, and I'm working on the exact same thing in Salem with a component where we'll have a triage center hopefully in the next couple of months. And we will be working on that. I'm actually looking at the resume of a couple psychiatric nurse practitioners. It's not something we do right now, but it's something I'm working on in our Salem location.
Great, thank you.
Other licensed to be able to do that, because the state of Oregon, I won't even get into it, but the way they regulate things is very complicated, and you have to have an OTP licensure, which is super complex with like 4 or 5 different accreditation bodies, and then you also need a state licensure in order to do mental health treatment, and you have to have both of those to do dual diag. So I had to get OTP off the ground as part 1, but part 2 is yes, we will in the future. We're working on it, and in the meantime, we work really closely with our community partners. But as you guys can imagine, there's just a shortage of actual treatment, like outpatient treatment. So we need to create not only referral centers, but we need to fund more treatment providers and getting them available to do the diagnosis and things like that. So that's what I'm working on now.
Perfect sense, thank you.
And did you say you're in front of the Legion Hall every day in Sheridan?
Yes, every day. We're in Grand Ronde. I'll send Heidi the new schedule because we had to kind of modify it a little bit. We start in Grand Ronde and we go from Grand Ronde to 9 to 10:30. And then I think we get to Sheridan at around 10:30 or 11, and we're right in front of Legion Hall. They gave us a spot in there. Sometimes we're in their parking lot, and sometimes we're right on the side of the road. We haven't actually we need to get the word out because we need to get some more folks. I know that we have folks that are in Sheridan, but they love our community, so they come to Salem. So it's interesting. I'm like, you can be there. You don't, because they need to come every day until they get stable. So we see them every single day to dispense them their medication. So we don't give prescriptions out, we actually monitor them taking it to make sure there's no diversion, you know, they're using it properly. And then once they're stable, they can kind of decrease that every day. But we see them every day, so, we're just working, it's still kind of developing, basically.
So you'd be sending that
Send.
schedule to Heidi then, so maybe I can get a copy.
Yeah, I'll send it out, she did the same to me, I'll just word it out. That connection was made at a Rotary meeting, Jennifer came and made the presentation at the Rotary, right? And then the American Legion Hall stepped forward and said, we'll have you out front.
And that's how our connection got made in McMinnville too.
Good.
I met Project Dave at a community event and they invited us to have parking space. So really, as a tribe, we believe that the community is the most important, one of the most important deal. So we try to build that recovery community and then partner with the work, so it's not just siloed. So I think everyone who's doing this work to fight homelessness, addiction, mental health, it's all intersected and we all have to kind of come at it with lots of different tools. But our specialty is treating specifically the opioid crisis, so that's what we specialize in and kind of focus on.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for your work and thank you for being here tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'll pair all of you up.
I definitely wanna talk to you.
It's like, what is an opioid, or what does that really mean, or what is fentanyl, or how do I know if somebody needs Great Circle? If someone wants to have more questions, I can be available or email or, you know, talk to people and answer questions as needed on a one-on-one basis too.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Anybody else?
I think that's the end of all of our presentations. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for inviting
And thank you for your work, everybody, and your hospitality for having us.
Thank you all so much for everything you do. So thank you.
seeing you. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Always good to see you. Proud of you.
All right. Moving forward, under 4B, review vote community grant program applications. We have 2 requests for donations from the public. I previously proposed to do a quarterly application for the new community grant. The first request is from AGILE, petitioning the urgent need for funding for youth football help. This request is something city council will have to discuss and deliberate. The second request is included in the packet for you to read and from the Sheridan Cheerleaders. I'll open this up for discussion. Jim?
Looking at the community grant application itself, which I believe we're also supposed to approve that as well, but based on what I'm reading in that, in the preface to all this, is that the Sheridan Cheerleaders, which I support, that's not an issue, but basically the project / use for funds is going to summer training camp at OSU, and yet part of the criteria based on the grant application says it can't be used for transportation. Now, it sounds like, I may be splitting hairs, but it sounds like it may need to be used for transportation. So it would make a difference to us, I don't know.
I don't know, I know that, you know, each grant's going to $500, and I know that their cost to go is far more than $500. So,
Council can stipulate that the funds be used for non-transportation purposes.
And then the other question I had in the same vein, both these organizations, AGILE and Shared Shoes, do they need to, are we kind of putting the cart before the horse because we don't have a form for them to fill out, so they just come to us and they submitted, the Cheerleaders did, a full idea of what's going on, but AGILE, we just got a verbal briefing of they want helmets and they're expensive, so, I guess, and then my third question is based purely on, application process. We've got the, due dates and then the council meeting dates. Realizing both these groups want their money now if we agree to give them any. Do we have to wait until the final meeting date before we grant them the money? I did a little quick addition. If we're doing it quarterly, we only got $1,250 per quarter. And if we were to give both these groups $500, we're left with $250 for the rest of this quarter. So, these are all just statements. I don't have an answer to any of those, but is there a way to work that? I understand what we're trying to do. We want to give as much money to as many people as possible.
This is why we're leadership of Sheridan, because we make the tough decisions.
Well, I just did the math, that's all.
Sure.
So the question I had is, let's go right out with it. Do they have treasurers for their organizations, and do they have books? And, I would really be interested in seeing their finances and, what's going on there.
So AGILE is a 501c3, so they will have books. The Sheridan Cheerleaders, I do not know if they're a nonprofit or not.
We have the nonprofit ID listed.
Okay, so they're a nonprofit. They would both have books that they would have to account for.
Yeah, it would be, just myself, I don't like giving money, I'm really not really know what's going on, as far as the finances go.
Sure.
So, I'm not against giving money, it's just, I don't know what they're, just how they're operating, that's right.
Perhaps, maybe they should, or could submit some sort of a receipt,
I'm sorry?
like, maybe they could submit some sort of a receipt or show an invoice of what it would be used for, would that help with that?
Yeah, that would help a lot.
Would you like them to follow up with how they spent the money?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they have 30 days to submit, or maybe it's 60 days, by the time your credit card statement gets in, and maybe 60 days to submit some sort of a receipt that shows how the money was spent, and maybe like at least, something, a paragraph of clarification, would that help?
I guess it would, yeah. So,
And then looking at our sample community development grant application, under number 9, it says attach a letter explaining how the funds will be used, how the criteria will be met, and other information relevant to the request. You add on to that, and we would like to see how the money was spent within 60 days of.
Yeah, 10 would be, I never like to end things on 9. 10 would be, what is that called, a grant closure report?
There you go, that's something of how the money was spent in parentheses out there.
Yeah, so, one paragraph.
Roxy?
I was just wondering what the total amount of the cost, are we footing the whole bill, half the bill?
For OSU, for the summer
For
camp?
the cheerleaders?
Yeah, see, that's the problem, we don't have this in place yet, and number 9, it says attach a letter explaining how the funds will be used, how the criteria will be met, and any other information relevant, so.
With the football team, we were given an idea what they cost, and we have a better idea.
You may want to ask them to provide information on the match that's being provided. In other words, what amount of funds is this donation being added to
Yeah,
do whatever they're doing?
and I'm wondering, like, what the true cost is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because a lot of these camps, I mean, if they just said, here's like the registration form, and those usually list out the cost of those camps, that probably would be.
Most grant applications require a kind of sources and uses type information.
Yeah, because like Martin said, I'd be coming just for the full amount, because I know I'm used to seeing them do car washes and bottle drives, and kind of good to try to earn some of your own money versus just having it all gifted to you. And I know that there's other people, and I don't know when our quarter's up, sorry, Jim.
Oh, the date's in the,
That, there's other, I know places that we've never been able to get money to that did a lot of things for the community or the area that I would hate to have everything depleted into the balance of the account when there's some things that, animal rescues can't do a whole lot. Young kids can, you know what I'm trying to say.
oh, I understand very well, I drew my conclusions just based on the this and how it reads out. And it says right there, we got $5,000, how are we gonna do it? And the due dates at a glance, if we give everybody all the money and run out by the second quarter, then
Figure out.
rest of the year, they come in and say, oh, we'd love to help you, it's all right, we're done. So that's why I did the 5,000 divided by 4 to come up with $12.50 per quarter. But I think with all that in mind, I'll make a bold statement here. I move to accept the community grant cover letter and application as edited with the remarks that we want to see how the money was spent, and what is it, 30, 60 days after the.
I have a grant closure report, 1 paragraph, and a receipt within 60 days. When do you need the funds by, and the full cost of the project or the activity, the amount of. Is that all of the?
Yeah, so that's what I'm moving to accept, is the grant cover letter and application as edited with what Heidi just said.
I said it.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Motion passes.
And then, as far as the donations, I don't know that it needs a motion, but I would strongly suggest that we get back to both AGILE and the Sheridan Cheerleaders, have them fill out this application, and then at the next meeting, we can take an actual vote on how much we would like to give them based on the information they give us. Does that require a motion, or is that just good enough for you to say?
I think we can postpone until,
It's basically a motion to table it until you have a completed application.
Yeah, well, that's good. So I would, yeah, I move that we table any donations to give anyone until they've filled out an application form to allow us to see how the money's going to be spent.
Bearing in mind that one of these is for a camp that's taking place August 9th, so that will nullify that application. So you could approve that subject to the staff receiving a completed application prior to that. If you want to.
Yeah. Okay. I move that we conditionally approve the donation of $500 to the Sheridan Cheerleaders, with the caveat that they return a completed application prior to getting the money.
Agile,
Agile is, I think they can wait just a little bit longer. If they submit an application, they don't necessarily need their money by, the 9th or whatever. I don't know when, of course, they'd like it anytime, sure. But I don't think they have a drop dead date like the cheerleaders do.
okay, we have a motion on the table first. Do we have a second?
So, Hannah, was that a second? Did you say it?
No, it's waiting
Oh.
to fly. Fly over your bucket.
So we're seconding the cheerleaders,
Yes.
donation of $500, specifically for non-transportation expenses.
Right, and subject to filling.
Okay, I will second.
We have a first, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Lucy?
Undecided.
Does that mean abstain? Is that what that is?
No, abstaining.
I wish there was more time. I wish I had done the application right the first time. I feel pressured and I never.
Well, I don't think we had an application, did we? This has been drawn
They
up.
didn't.
Their own, their own
Yeah, this
handwritten
is the
one.
first application. I gave her the sisters one, and I said it will look similar to this, so go ahead and fill out some of this. And so that's what she filled out.
I'll just fill that one.
Yeah, because we didn't have an application.
So
yet.
Do you want to vote
four.
or abstain?
I think I just, I wish they would come in and at least
I
talk
think the
about.
second.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right.
We're voting.
Oh, okay, well.
Sorry.
Abstain. There.
Thank you. All right,
For the record, the vote on that is 4-1-1?
Yes.
Okay.
Information. Oh, very much so.
And then the other one, do we need a vote to table the agile one?
I think Bundle
think-
started it.
Yeah, I think
There was
he's
a
part of
motion.
it.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't plan on it, but,
Oh,
I would move that we postpone donating money to Agile until we receive their fully completed community development grant application.
We have a first, we have a second. We have a first and a second, any further discussion?
They've gotta be filling those out before they even come to council.
Well, now they will hopefully know that.
now we have a form.
I just made that for the record.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion? All in favor? Passes. So, our next topic is an interesting one. Vote for psilocybin, that's coming out countywide.
Would you like a report from Heidi or myself on that now?
I would, I mean,
That'd be great.
This is a local option issue as to whether or not the council wishes to put a measure on the ballot for delaying or prohibiting the licensure of psilocybin service centers or manufacturing and process facilities within the city. So Heidi.
Sure, so the way so just to be clear, when I first started exploring this topic, I want people to understand that this is different than the marijuana. I at first did not really absorb that information. This is not for a retail sale, for example, for myself to go into a shop and make a purchase of mushroom or psilocybin and go home and use them. That's not what this is. So this is for clinics, essentially, what are they called?
Service centers.
A service center, thank you. For a service center to open up and to have a licensed
Facilitator.
to administer the psilocybin, and then you stay there on site until the process is ended, and then you leave. And, or it is also for the manufacturing or the processing of the psilocybin in what I would imagine would be an industrial section of your zoning. There is some issues that I would really like you to consider. I assume that you've read my packet and you see that there's three options essentially. The first option is so state law passed it, okay? I'm sure you saw my numbers too. Measure 109 ballot results statewide, yes, 55% and no, 44%. Yamhill County, 50%, yes, 49, okay, so it's 50.26% yes, 49.74% no. That's about as close as a split vote as you can get. Sheridan, 47% yes, 52% no. But if you note here, the Sheridan voter turnout was the lowest in Yamhill County, 70% is all you had at a voter turnout. The separation between the yes and the no votes in Sheridan was 119 votes, okay? And also the percentages do not include the undervotes of 108. So I think you're pretty close too for a split vote. So after that passed, then there's been a decision somewhere that you can, with cities and counties with this one, or just cities? Cities and counties, of course, why not? We can have processing. Okay, so cities and counties, the governing body has the decision where you have to decide what you're going to do. You have three options, okay? You can send it for a vote to the Sheridan voters that says, do we want to ban this? And it's not pick and choose, it's the facilities, and it's the processing, and it's the manufacturing, okay? So it's all three of those. Or, and keep in mind, if that does not pass, right? If they come back with a 51.74%, then we are hot and heavy into the, what are we gonna do with this? Which would be designing time, place, and manner, which those of you who is involved with marijuana
Those are restrictions that you can create, on the time of the day, the place, which is your zoning, and the manner, which is like, buffering around, well, that's also the place. The manner was like
One thing in
security
manner,
elements.
one manner thing might be whether or not somebody is required to receive transportation to and from, in other words, not drive away from the phone.
Interesting. Okay, so, but keep in mind, so you have these choices, right? You can say, hey voters, do you want to ban this? And if so, we have included in here the ordinance and the resolution that accompanies that to send it out to the voters. Option 2 would be to send a ballot measure to the voters with a 2-year moratorium. Okay, so at the conference, when it was the city manager conference, there was very few cities, I was surprised, that are going this route. McMinnville is one of them, right? The city of McMinnville is going this route, but keep in mind, it's not a full 2-year ban, okay? Because you really have to start going about a year into it, so you
No,
only.
it's a 2-year ban starting January 3rd, because that's when licensing can begin.
Right.
So it bans it through December of 2020.
But in the background, we have a lot of work that we have to do. We can't just drag our feet for 2 years.
Oh, well, under a 2-year ban, it provides you 2 years to decide if you want to go back out to the voters for a permanent ban, or whether you want to go for another temporary ban, or whether you want to allow the facilities and in the meantime do time, place, manner stuff.
Right. So there's some concerns with the other cities that it causes confusion in your voters too. So they're just not familiar with what a 2-year moratorium really means, or a 2-year temporary ban. Option 3, do nothing with the included ordinances samples. Instead, accept the rules that the city comes up with for regulation.
Except the state
I'm
rules.
sorry, state rules as your bare minimum. By the way, they have not crafted all of their rules yet. They have until the end of the year, okay? So we don't really know what those rules all encompass. That would be your bare minimum. So in addition to that, you can also do the crafting of the rules. You can send this over to the planning commission with some streams, like we wanna see these kinds of things in there, I imagine. And then that would also then come back to you eventually, and then you have the ultimate authority of if those time, place, and manner restrictions are beefy enough for you,
They
right?
have to be under the statute code reason.
Reasonable, right? This is back at the marijuana thing where you can't say, oh, let's have all of them be within, 8,000 feet of a school, and it eliminates every single property in your city.
Right.
There are
That would be unreasonable.
there are no tax money coming in for this, unlike marijuana too, right? So there's no financial, I can't really see any financial thing attached besides the time that it takes to craft the code, right, for the planner.
Tyler, there's a
And of
statewide
course-
tax on
There-
services, so 17%, is that right?
There is a 15% tax, yes,
I don't
but it
know
does
that-
not come back
I
to
don't
the
know that-
cities.
At least not at this point, that the cities.
It specifically does not come to the lower municipal or counties. It stays at the state level.
And then the other expense would be, of course, for the city attorneys to look over everything. City attorneys and planning costs, and outside of that, I don't see any finances either coming or going. So now is the time for you to choose the fate of the city.
Let me just explain one additional thing.
Okay.
You only get this choice once every 2 years. And you get the choice in the November election of an even-numbered year under Measure 109. And that's this November. And in order to get on that ballot, you have to certify a measure to the county clerk by August 19th, correct?
Yeah, elections for these guys.
And in order to do that, you have to publish a ballot title and wait 7 business days and not get an objection to the circuit court about your ballot title. So that's why this issue comes to you tonight, because of the time constraint. You have only 19 days to certify this, 18 days now. And so there's no, you're gonna have to make a decision of what you wanna do. And then staff will have to scramble to make it happen one way or the other.
Sheridan, that he doesn't believe that there's a lot of available
Locations.
for a facility. I don't know the size that they need, I don't know if anybody really knows the size that they need, but we don't have a lot of commercial land. And we do have some industrial land, but that is not being used to its highest level, but it is not on the market.
And there is a $1,000 limitation from schools.
$1,000.
1,000 feet, 1,000 feet limitation from schools. And there is a prohibition against service centers in residential zones.
Yeah, and you can't grow mushrooms in your house.
Jim?
First, I got a question for Walt, and I think it's really important for the whole group. Whatever we pick, we're putting a measure out to the public,
Maybe, if you pick.
one of the two
Yeah.
options, other than just go with the vote.
Correct.
If we put that out there, and I'll use the most overviewing, we vote to just say, no, we're not having any psilocybin here.
Right.
And the community says, well, we got all the 20 people that may go vote, because they're probably the only issue on the ballot for Sheridan. No, this, we're gonna have our.
It's a general election. Yeah.
But regardless, we already have, 108 people that did not,
They did not vote, they voted,
But
did not
but
choose to
not
vote
on
on
this
this subject.
subject, yeah.
So if it doesn't, if whatever we suggest does not pass,
Correct.
then the default is we're doing whatever the state said.
Correct. And then at that point, you can add to the state's regulations by adopting local time, place, and manner regulations if you wish to do so.
We have to keep battling the army, several things to. First of all, they don't have their rules in place yet. They said they won't have their rules in place till December 31st, 2 days before the measure would go into effect.
That's part of the uncertainty.
Yes, and also, I thought this was great. If rules are counterproductive to a functioning system, how quickly can rule changes be made? What is the process for license holders to submit requests for rule changes? Blah, blah, blah. That's gonna take us 6 months if we wanna change any of the rules.
Easily.
Already, they don't know what the rules are, but it's gonna take 6 months to fix any of them if they're wrong. I see a problem there.
True enough.
The comment you made earlier about 1,000 feet from the school. To me, that implies that they're kind of expecting problems with this issue. It's not directly said that, but why would you care if it's within 1,000 feet of the school?
I think the people who wrote the measure thought that was a politically palatable thing to put in.
Okay.
If you want my
Sure. No, I
frank assessment.
I think that they're used, that was the mindset with the marijuana.
Yes, they're
And that was a big deal. during
drafting that on as
process.
a protection.
And then in this case, what I read with all of the stuff he gave us is that, no, actually, the client, who is, I'll get to that in a second. The client goes into the the facility, and gets the psilocybin, and they will stay there for, I didn't give it an amount of time, or apparently until the psilocybin has run its course, done what it's supposed to do. Nobody really has the definition on that yet. But, keep going along this, from page 47, probably of the packet. Will clients need a medical referral to receive psilocybin services in a service center? No.
No.
And, hey, I'm feeling a little stressed today, I'm just gonna drop to the center, I don't need a medical referral, I don't need anything. Is the board considering microdosing sessions? In other words, let's give them a little dose of, no, they're only gonna establish a maximum, and that's it, they're not establishing any other setup. We have no public funds that are used for this. And I'm thinking again, because if it used public funds and something goes horribly wrong, now the state is now liable for any issues that come up. Therefore, if it's private funds, oh, well, that guy screwed up with his private funds and we didn't do that. That's how I read that. As I kept going through here, it just gets better and better. The board's recommended that group sessions be allowed. And if you think about that, I mean, psilocybin is designed to possibly cause hallucination, and now they're saying they will allow group sessions. Oh, they haven't decided how much a group is yet, but they'll get to that. I find that a little troubling, but I
So
think,
a group hug metaphorically, or
Yeah, no, this is the, I think this is the tour de force here though is, I don't know how much to say. Okay, so some are to find information about qualifications, certification, degree, experience for preparing to work as a psilocybin service facilitator. Every facilitator must complete a training program as approved by OHA as a condition of being licensed. A high school diploma or equivalent will be required without additional degrees or certifications. So anybody who's graduated high school can suddenly become a facilitator for psilocybin. Does the facilitator need a medical license? No. You know,
I just can't believe this is even before us tonight,
well,
honestly.
here's my take on all this. I see all these things I highlighted in yellow as I went through all the documentation we had. And what I came up with is simple. It's a state law. Some places are gonna go, okay, it's a state law, we'll go with that. My opinion is that let's give them 2 years to get their act together and revisit it at that point, rather than just saying, forget it, we don't want it. Because it, in essence, once they get their kinks worked out, assuming anybody goes for having psilocybin facilities in their public, in their cities or locations, hopefully we'll find out from other people how it works. Then we can make a solid decision like, man, I read that in the paper and that is all kinds of screwed up, we don't want that here. Or we find out it's really been helpful for the people that have been doing this, and it might not be a bad thing for sure to have.
Mayor, can I just provide some
Oh,
information?
by all means, please, I'm curious.
Just by way of what other jurisdictions are doing, Heidi mentioned that McMinnville has approved the first reading of an ordinance for a two-year temporary ban, and they have a meeting tomorrow night to hold their, because they have a split vote, and they have a meeting tomorrow.
And you mentioned split vote, we have to all agree, don't we? Is that correct?
Only if you want to do it in one meeting.
Okay.
Um,
We all have to meet the deadline?
No, not really. We have a meeting tomorrow, the next day, the day
No,
after.
48 hours.
24.
Emergency meeting.
So Yamhill County voted, I believe, to put a 2-year temporary ban on the ballot, as I recall. And Carlton held a meeting last Thursday, their second meeting on this issue, because they have split vote at their first meeting a week ago, where they voted to put a 2-year measure on the ballot. So that, in this county, you've got 3 jurisdictions kind of moving in that direction. One of them has actually approved an ordinance. I think the county has, and McMinnville may or may not tomorrow. So I don't know what they'll do tomorrow.
That's great, thank you. Roxanne?
Well, I was thinking if the voters, when it got put on the ballot originally, back in 19, if it was split so close, if we put it on the ballot to ban it completely, it's banned. If it fails, if it passes, if it fails, then it goes back to actually number 3, where we can take our time, find out what the state does, find out what the rules are, and go from there. I mean,
However,
kind of let
under that scenario, starting January 3rd, the state can license facilities.
So if it's banned, if you put out the ban and that fails, then starting January, we have to have time, place, and manner restrictions.
So, and after
Because they're gonna
November,
start listing.
you've got a month and a half to grow
Yeah,
up.
that's what I mean, we gotta get the ground running. If you choose the ban, I think that we should start that process now of looking at time, place, and manner restrictions.
If you do the temporary ban, it gives you 2 years
Yeah.
to look at those issues.
That's how I look at it,
We're
but
looking at the 2-year ban because just like the lady said,
Mhm.
in 2 years they'll know a lot more than they know now. And I kind of wanted her advice because she's in that, you know, to me it's important, you know, I don't really care about anxiety, go for a walk, you know, I mean, there's certain things you can do for anxiety. But if there was something they could do, and it kind of reminds me of how they separate the CBD from the THC, trust me, it's a little seminar, I'm getting lessons on. But you separate those 2 things and there is a difference. And this residual of this product is just like anybody with like an anti-inflammatory, except more organic, obviously. the other one's the buds. So, I mean, who knows with these mushrooms, they're organic, but I just don't think they know enough now. I think if you do go to the state, then you have to abide by whatever they come up with to a certain degree, and they sound like knuckleheads. And there's at least, you could put it on the planning commission, but that's kind of a cop-out. But, you know, so like I'm leaning on.
That's their job, that's their rule.
You would start that.
Yes.
And, you know, so, but I think number two is, because they're just not giving you enough information, and the more you read those things, again, when I read some of them, I quit reading, I said, that's just crazy. I've been into crazy, you have to go a little deeper.
Can I ask where you got some of that information?
Out of the paperwork.
Has to be paperwork.
Because when I look at some of this too, though, like on page 18
Page 18 of the packet.
of the packet, yeah.
Hang on.
I'm just getting to maybe there is,
I think you're
they're just not ready yet.
So I didn't go through them, but I started,
18 on the graphic, I like the infographics,
I started
how my
with,
brain operates.
page 34, is my first point of the,
Right.
and then what I didn't say was, you mentioned that there's a lot of information online, so I clicked on the link, it said client. And all it said for client is, when I clicked on the link on the Oregon website, it said, psilocybin services are not available in Oregon. We expect new psilocybin service centers to open their doors to clients and for licensed facilitators to begin offering psilocybin services in 2023. The webpage will be updated with more information as it becomes available. In the meantime, you can learn more and stay updated with the resources below, but the resources below didn't get any better. So this is, I clicked on, they were gonna do some things in May, telling us what they're thinking and go from there. They didn't even define the word client yet. So that was from, page 34 is where I got, page 41 is where I got that one. And then, page 42 is where I clicked on the client link. And go ahead and ask me.
Most of what Jim was quoting from was from the questions I answered from the.
You are correct, that is correct, yes.
Because right here though, I'm just adding fuel to the fire. Like in a different place, I think that they have more information right here about what their licensed facilitators, so it may, what they require. So this is to provide these services, licensed facilitator must complete a training program with curriculum approved by OPS. My guess is that they don't have the curriculum addressed or wrote, an exam administered by OPS, and other license requirements. They probably don't have all of those, but this is where they're going. But just, I don't think it's gonna, their vision isn't just somebody who just has graduated high school.
Oh, I'm sure, but on the other hand,
At least
they
they'll
haven't
have-
defined it yet.
Yeah, that
Client is defined, it was defined in the actual statute that was passed as part of Measure 109, so it's not part of the rulemaking process that needs to be defined. That exists. That existed when it was passed in 2020.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Tyler's smarter than me.
Paul's just rocking it over here, Tyler.
Maybe that's Tyler, but I think Walt will.
I like to look at it when he talks myself.
See, yeah, exactly. Look at a mirror.
It's just coming
Makes
out
me
of the
uncomfortable.
secret corner.
So, well, I just want to clarify as the elections person, that either way though, if either one or option two, the 2-year ban, if either of them fails and they get a no vote, then we're right back to option 3
Yes,
anyway.
Correct.
With a shorter amount
That's
of time
correct.
to develop.
option 3 is a default situation if you do nothing or if the voters turn down your amendment.
And it is June or November, it's like,
Yeah, you got a really short time.
Can we write an explanation for the voter pamphlet?
Yes, and that's it, that's set out in the ordinance.
So the city would be writing their explanation.
It's set out in the ordinance that's before you.
Okay, because here's what I'm thinking, potential issues, if we just went for the 2-year moratorium. And a lot of the towns go, no, we don't want a 2-year moratorium, we want to just not have it. So they vote no on the 2-year moratorium, and, okay, then now you've got it right now instead of waiting 2 years. So I can see where we want to be sure and explain to them that,
they
hey,
get it that way too.
if you vote no on this one, then you're saying we want it
So
1st or 3rd of January.
that's where you need to make sure that your, oh my gosh. what
No
was
means
that?
yes. Yeah. Well, means yes.
No means yes sooner.
Yes, and even sooner.
Well, we,
Where are our model ordinances?
if you look at the ordinances that Heidi proposed to you, which is a better version than the model, the language basically is taken from the model for the question and the summary and the ballot title, okay? And for instance, on the 2-year temporary ban, it says, shall the city of Sheridan prohibit psilocybin-related businesses for 2 years, okay? It's very straightforward. And that's come from the League of Oregon Cities. I don't think you could say it in a more, in a better way. Clearly people are going to, because this is a new topic that they will not have thought about a lot. There will be a certain number of people who don't comprehend what this is all about, and they don't take the time to read up on it. In the voters pamphlet, they'll probably see other people putting in pro and con arguments, which is going to flesh that out a little bit for them. But your job, if you decide to refer to the ballot, is just to try and give as clear and simple a question as you can. And the more complicated it is, the more people will be confused.
Right.
You're only allowed 10 words for the question. 10 words.
I was gonna say, you're very limited, so if you are, is everybody kind of feeling the 2-year thing? Should we just start talking about that? Okay, let's talk about the 2-year thing. I think some people are gonna be confused when they see the word psilocybin. Yeah, so I can't say it, I can't say it.
Magic mushrooms.
But, I mean, it sounds, like you're not really sure. I mean, the risk of sounding like a hippie or something, but there's really not a lot of people that speak up for it, because there's a lot more people in the pharmaceutical business too.
And that's why the summary says, state law allows for manufacturing, transportation, delivery, sale, and purchase of psilocybin, the psychedelic drug found in certain mushrooms in compliance with state law.
Right.
That is, it's a basic explanation, right? It's the psychoactive drug found in mushrooms.
So what we need to do is we need to go through the.
I would not try and wordsmith this.
No, what we need to do is we need to make sure that you understand that the resolution is the exact words that's gonna show up on the ballot.
Yep.
Okay, so if everybody read that, then you are pretty much good to go. This is same
This is
that you'll
right-
see for McMinnville and Carlton.
Yeah, this is
This is
identical
the
to what's going on the ballot.
Identical words.
Pretty close to, I think the county measure, I haven't looked at it word for word, but it's pretty similar.
Okay, so right below the words ordinance 22-06, ordinance declaring temporary ban as of, but that's exactly.
Look at resolution 22, or 220, look at resolution 2022-0. Page 39.
Page 39.
Thank you.
That's where we took the ordinance,
39.
or we took the words for the ballot measure and highlighted it into a resolution.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
In fact, you don't need to do this resolution, because you have it in the ordinance
Is
itself.
that fine?
The language in the ordinance refers the ordinance to the ballot, and there's no requirement for a resolution beyond that. Okay. Now, very often, you can also refer a measure without adopting an ordinance in some situations, but in this situation, it's pretty clear that the statute is contemplating that you would adopt an ordinance, banning,
All right.
and therefore, in the ordinance that you adopt, this ordinance is referred to the electorate of the city of Sheridan for approval at the next statewide general. Right, so,
Okay. Good.
so what I would ask you to do is focus on the ordinance that Heidi provided to you. The resolution itself,
06.
Well,
Yeah.
Jumping in at section 3 to the ballot title, I know what it means, but I could easily just use like prohibition sunsets after 2 years. Is that really what you want to put in the title?
well,
I understand what it means.
Ends,
the first sentence is the prohibition, and the second sentence says that it's sunsetting after 2 years. In other words, it's a 2-year ban, not a permanent ban.
Well, like I said, I understand it, but we're going to talk about this possible, I don't want to insult anybody, but a lot of people aren't even familiar with the word psilocybin, and and then you tell them that the prohibition sunsets, it's like, oh, the prohibition sunsets on psilocybin,
Are you
I'm
saying
just
that
gonna vote no.
prohibition and sunset are opposites? Essentially, if something's a prohibition, it means forever.
You
and
know, I would say,
sunset means there's
instead of
probably-
sunsets, is me, in person, I would just like prohibition ends after 2 years. Sunsets, it means the sun's gone down and the measure is no longer valid, but, you know, that's a nitnoy thing.
The term sunset is what is used legislatively,
Right, okay.
and it's widely used, so I wouldn't.
Kids actually like that, and I'm surprised they use it, because it's kind of like, I get it, the sunset goes down.
Many statutes have a provision that says this statute sunsets on thus and such a day, which means that it's only good through that day.
And so, in theory, I do read the balance when I vote on, but I should have seen that before in something that I voted for on a statewide measure, is that correct? I just don't remember ever seeing it, but that's fine.
So here's what I'm thinking, is this right, 'cause this is what I'm gonna hear on a whole different level, I'm sure. So if you're feeling a little depressed, got some anxiety, AKA PSP or PTSD, trauma, I'm feeling addiction pull, I go down to this little place, some guy, who's not a doctor, but he's licensed in something, can give you some mushrooms and you're gonna get high, you're gonna see, probably play cartoons or something so you can feel good about yourself, wouldn't wanna put on Chucky, that's in the other way. And then you stay there until you get an experience it, and they send you home, and you end up just like a little figure out there in Kirk, that doesn't even almost really make any sense.
Well,
Well,
may I?
And I'm just reading that
I
off.
have, I'm not familiar with what, I read some, in Time Magazine, I didn't do digging, but in Time Magazine, they were talking about psilocybin, and the theory is in people that have issues that haven't achieved success from a quote, normal drug therapy, the psilocybin, theoretically, from what I read, one dose is supposed to tell your head, oh, hey, forget it, you're gonna be fine, just go with the flow, this is gonna help you out. Now, since they don't have all the rules for us to look at, it doesn't say you only get one shot at it, but, you know, the theory that I read says one treatment with this psilocybin is supposed to make your head figure out, oh,
Electrical shock.
it's the same sort of theory, that's correct, that's what I
See, I
understand.
didn't see that anywhere in all this stuff that I read. So
I didn't
you go
either.
back for repeated treatments, because you're still that way again next week.
Or if you just had a good time, yeah.
You have, per dose that you receive, there is at least one meeting with a facilitator that is, you do not receive psilocybin. So you have, there will always be at least 2 separate sessions.
Okay,
Where-
first one is meet with the facilitator, and the second is actually get the psilocybin, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, if you wander back in again, is it 2 more? You have to meet with the facilitator again, say, you know,
It is always, you cannot get a dose of psilocybin without the non-medicated meeting.
So they evaluate you, and then they give it to you. So if
At a
you're feeling the
different
urge
session.
again, they evaluate you again, and then they give it to you again.
And they do not have to give it to you just because you come back.
Oh, no, that's why they have to evaluate you, see if you're just doing a little focus, or, you know, trying to get a freebie or.
I think part of this is a scientific experiment, okay? So part of this is about the efforts for certain people that don't wanna take opioids, that don't wanna take hard chemical drugs into their bodies, right? So it's about an alternative medicine, perhaps, and the exploration of what that means in society, right? And so, as you mentioned, there has been benefits for people that have had, you know, THC, right? That they have those lotions and they put them on for their arthritis, right? And so part of this is the exploration of reducing chemicals. Oregon has a huge crisis for meth and for opioids and for painkillers that people have been taking. And so this, I think, is where this is pushing out of, right? Is for people that do have anxiety. The state of Oregon has a huge problem with depression as well. It's called SAD, it's SAD, it's called the seasonal
Affective disorder.
disorder because of the weather that we have here. These are real conditions. People
people do suffer from anxiety at a huge level. I have suffered from anxiety when I was in college, definitely. I have suffered from depression. I had a terrible upbringing when I was a child. And so some of these things are really hard for people to talk about, especially publicly. And so I would really hope that you can understand that I am not advocating for one way or the other on this issue, but I'm saying that people face real challenges with their mental health. And in giving people options to try something that hasn't worked for them can be the hope and the light of the day. And so I am just I don't know, who the heck knows any of these answers, right? But you have to put yourself out there at some point into the realm of science. And the pharmaceutical companies, in a lot of ways, have held those strings tight and told us and fed us what we need. We need a magic pill, right, to get there. So I will always do whatever you tell me this council wants to do. But I do want you to know that there are other ideas out there, alternative.
Well, first of all, I believe in Eastern medicine, and if you need to use Western medicine, and I believe in prayer. So I believe in all three of those, and I think pharmaceuticals are horrible. So I don't have a problem with, that would fall under naturopath, actually. So I obviously don't, I was in the 70s, I've never had a problem with pot. It's kind of nice that they can separate it now, that's what happened in, 30, 40 years, they can actually separate one thing from the other. And I don't know if I was talking to you or somebody else, can you separate the same thing in a mushroom and find a good thing over here? I'm not saying there's any bad things with it, heavens, I've had them before, it's not a bad thing, but, people get all excited. It was in the 70s, thank you very much. And, just last night, no, in the 70s, but, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to. And, it's not anything life-threatening, but in my mind, because I do know that difference, not a bad thing, is that separation, like we were talking about the oil from the, the THC from the whatever. I just, on this little list here, when I read the little list, it doesn't, to me, unless the word addiction stands for in lieu of opioids, that kind of a thing. It's kind of an in general depression, anxiety, trauma. I understand how those work, but addiction to me, that's like just putting one big, it isn't defined content that is that can kill you. Yes, Jim, sorry.
Well, no, it's okay, this is for you, well, you may have the right answer for me. This isn't designed to help with opioid addiction, this is designed for mental health, which are two different things, in my opinion.
I can't claim at all to have any expertise on psilocybin, but from what I've read, this is an alternative treatment to some intractable mental health issues that other therapies may not be successful in treating, and that many people believe psilocybin holds a high potential for assisting a certain number of people, okay? And so Oregon has decided to make itself a kind of a clinical experiment, and this statute sets up a process where at least many parts of the state are going to start experimenting with treatment using psilocybin. And really the issue before you tonight is you can do nothing, in which case Sheridan may be one of those places, or you can temporarily delay to see kind of the development of standards and training and so forth, and you can put it off for a couple of years if the voters want to do that. Or you can ask the voters if they don't want to do that in Sheridan,
losses, but yes. I think, you know, there's other cities that crack, but we're learning that, I think the places that have the capacity for the marketplace, like, McMinnville, I don't know what Kirk's doing, but McMinnville would be the closest place for maybe Dallas, and I don't know what Dallas is doing, but McMinnville and Carlton, the 2 years, they've been, it will be harder for a place, a business, or a manufacturing processing to find somewhere to locate. So people
We'll just vote on the motion.
All in favor?
Ordinance number 2022-06, known as declaring temporary ban on psilocybin service and the manufacture of psilocybin products, referring such ordinance to voters and declaring emergency.
We have a first. Second. We have a second. Roll call, please.
AGILE,
Yes.
Douglas,
Aye.
Elk, McElroy,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Seaver.
I'm going to recommend that you also pass resolution 2022-0. It's a perfectly good resolution. And while it may not be necessary, I don't think it hurts a bit to pass it, to refer this to the ballot. So just recommend a motion to pass resolution 2022-0.
Question?
Yeah.
This would also be on the ballot together.
No, it's just the same ballot.
I make a motion that we, pass resolution 2022-0. Resolution referring to the electors, the question of whether to accept a feeder network and state license psilocybin product manufacturers and psilocybin centers within the city's jurisdiction boundaries for approval at the next statewide general election on November 8th.
We have a first, we have a second. We have a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
No special meeting this week.
You're only city that agrees. Good job, Sheridan.
Yes, but so far the only man that's voted.
See, we're not your troublemakers.
here we've got a meter, and sounds like it's all sophisticated, but back in the older days, I just remember it was on a piling, I don't know if it was a piling at the bridge, or maybe just a separate one, or even 106, I really don't know. But it's just a watermark painted, so my question is, specifically because somebody asked me this too, you know, what is considered, if it was even done, what is considered the high water mark?
Those are naturally occurring, normally you can mark them on a survey, or you can walk down in February and look to see where the high water mark's at. Usually there's a debris line up there.
But I mean, is it like that, like regularly, like, you know, the bridge, I think it went up to how many feet?
No, that's not a high water mark. There's a normal high water mark, and that is where the state takes control of navigational waters in the state of Oregon. So your normal high water mark is, you can actually have it surveyed. If you're wondering where it's at, there's probably some points on the survey that have been surveyed. That's where the state has jurisdiction below that water mark. So you're talking about flood level events.
Well, they had mentioned actually ordinary water mark versus the high and the low, so I don't know the lingo lingo, but I know we do.
Yeah, so the issue with the piling, I thought was going to be money, but after looking into USGS and what that costs, it's looking better. It'll take a long time to permit, probably 18 months or so. Because it's gonna be, it's the, what's the company out here, the salmon, endangered species act. What is the acronym for that? No, we don't know.
I know what you're talking about, the seven, you mean to tell me they can't paint it during the summer when the water is recessed?
We can't put a piling down there. That was the first thing I explored, was trying to put a piling down there.
I found it today, through a great conversation, that the Yamhill River is only protected from 3 types of fish. Steelhead, winter steelhead, lamprey, and the other one I can't remember, but it would have been great if I remembered.
Yeah.
Lamprey, yeah, trout, it's some sort of a trout.
Lamprey is like an eel.
No,
Yeah.
steelhead, the steelhead, the winter steelhead. Yeah, and then into the ocean becomes salmon.
That doesn't become.
I mean,
That's what I'm always saying.
Steelhead, that's an anadromous trout, which goes out to sea.
I will steelhead, okay?
Yeah, they're good.
But I was thinking it was already a piling there that's still up today.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, Jim?
We got a text about this weekend that the fish pond has a issue with some dogs at 6.
yeah,
We know.
we don't know much of anything. I called and left a message with the dog owner. I did talk to the person that reported it to me, and they thought it was red tide, yes. So I had to educate myself on red tide. I was told it was blue-green algae, so I educated myself on that on Sunday. Red tide today. So I went down and inspected the whole perimeter of the pond. I didn't see any evidence of an algae bloom. So that said, it's really windy today, or was. So it's really hard to tell. I should have went over the lagoons now that I think about it to see what the algae bloom was doing over there. I expected it to get blown to the eastern side, and I didn't find anything there. So no film, no algae bloom, not good or bad. There was nothing there. You know, there's a lot of duckweed and different things out there growing, but it's all beneficial.
My thought was if we ever move this out, like, very likely there could be something.
Yeah.
And, I know our dog will pick up anything on the ground and swallow it before you grab it back, and
Yeah.
they might know the park that day, and the dog ate something else, and then they also got in water, and they said, oh, that water made it sick.
Well, we'll probably never know, because it does sound like there was a definitive veterinarian diagnosis, thank you. So, yeah, so I'm gonna talk to the owner, I'm just waiting for them to call me back and see what they found out. And I'm gonna call the vet and see what the vet has to say and go from there, but we're gonna leave it closed until, you know, we get some more information. Yeah.
Well, okay, seems like more than one vet might consider that problem.
Yeah, because I understand that, you know, if a dog eats salmon, of course, there's salmonella poisoning or there's blood poisoning, but they can also get it from steelhead, which are probably in that pond, from the stalkers, the ones they stalk in, they put the brooders in, and So that could be it as well. I have heard of dogs getting sick there, eating from the trash. There's, yeah, but, I don't know yet. Okay.
The other announcement is, I received a request from the Parks and Rec, from the Water Group to allow for a group of volunteers to go down and do some clearing around
Yes.
County owns a portion of the sidewalk up to a certain distance out from the bridge. I don't know where that line demarcation.
How do you know that?
I can't say definitively because it's not city property, it's private and county, but what it appears on the map is that it's a zero lot line building, so it goes right up against the property. The county, it's actually,
That is.
Does the county own any property from the edge of the sidewalk?
Yes, there's a little triangle.
So the question remains still, I don't know how it's determined the survey.
And I really don't want to go into that this much in this meeting where it's not on the agenda. I'd rather kind of get back to you.
Anybody is wondering, the three species are cutthroat trout, white, or winter steelhead, and lamprey species.
If you want to see some underwater film, my son did some underwater filming yesterday, and I fall thousands of lamprey, and by sturgeon. 10-foot-long sturgeon. Pretty cool. But lamprey are in this group. Yeah, they're really ugly.
Yeah, they're more like a snake.
Yeah, I wanted the snakes or rock snakes or eels.
They apparently are a delicacy for sturgeon.
Mayor's interested. Guy, did you have anything else?
no. Unless somebody has more questions.
No, thank you, guys. So, we have two other sheets that were in the packet. Daily Mayor, the City Council, quarterly vice mayor. And then bid, Willamette Valley Council governments. Item, do you have any input from either one?
If you're going, you need to let us know so we can send you a check for the dinner and date. I guess the city has a process where it's bringing your significant other, so you can tell me times one or times two. And then, well, that's a while goes by. And we're gonna check. And if anybody's going to the dinner for the legislative one, who's at the casino. Mostly by the tribe, and it is at the casino, you need to let me know so I can RSVP for that.
So for the short rec league, dinner, something, pay for it on cities.
Yes. You do have to be engaged. Yeah. You do have to be engaged, you know.
I think counselor. Is that income? Is that income?
Income?
Like if the city pays for that?
Yes. No, I don't think it would.
All right, so the mayor will, entertain the motion to adjourn. You're up first. All in favor? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. That was,
Good night. It's very nice to see you.
Have a good night.
How you doing?
Doing good. Just doing a thing for the community. So.
Well, that's good. So now how do they see that?
Oh, on my website.
Oh, you got a website. Oh.
And YouTube. So Jay, I don't know if you remember Jay Harrison. He is the biker thing with the American Legion.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
He's one of
yeah.
my subscribers. He actually commented and he appreciates watching it.
Oh, well, great. It's a great way to bring city to the people.
Exactly.
You know what I told him a long time ago when Frank was here? Susan Chamberlain, come around before the meeting and see what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's finally getting done. Good for you. Good for you.
I just feel like get done. People need to be connected with the community.
They can connect.
And
Now
I
they
think,
know.
and I
that's
think,
psilocybin
and actually what's really cool is they can actually, if they're live with me, in sync with me, they can actually tell me, hey, you should ask the mayor this, or you should ask someone this. I can see that, and I can maybe ask if I can say this person who lives in Sheridan said this, like as if they're here, but they're not proximate.
Especially at the beginning because it'll be kind of tight. Yes, during
And I
the
can talk and
yes.
say, this person who is here on the street is saying this, and what
That'd
do
be
you have
really
to
cool,
say?
especially if it had their name typed
They do,
over there
so-
typed on the side so you can see who
It
says it.
will show right here, a doggone hog who is actually Jay Harrison.
Oh,
He can actually comment a thing live chat.
Really?
isn't
Yes.
that a helpful tool?
So they can actually tell me.
It's a great
That's
idea.
pretty cool.
So doggone hog, even though he's Jay, says,
Okay, that's cool to see.
Mr. Mayor.
How you doing?
Good, I'm Joe.
Good, good. Are you filming for?
Oh, for the community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if someone says, hey, can you ask the mayor something? I can say, yeah, doggone hog is asking a question. Yeah.
No, I was just curious.
Of course.
It's not normal.
No,
I mean, there's nothing.
It's no one really likes to do that. That's what you're saying, yeah.
Exactly.
Of course.
So, I mean, you know, we're not opposed. I'm just curious.
Of course, yeah. It's to show the community, hey, this is what we discussed,
Okay.
and that way it piques interest, so they can come next time if they want to be physically here in proximity. They can come here. And,
No, that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, the more that people are,
aware. Absolutely,
yeah, and, yeah, happy to engage with you.
absolutely. And sometimes they'll be like, say, hey, can I ask this? And I can maybe ask it. I can say this person who lives in Sheridan is asking this question, and before you start deep into the meetings.
You can also send me an email if somebody has a question or something.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Anytime. So then she got it figured out, went to the bank,
I would love to tell you.
and died again. But then he pretty much
Did you see what's going on?
Then
Well, you could probably kick off from some of the court dates, right?
I was also texting the people about how proud. Yes. Proud and.
Who are you filming for?
Oh, for the community. I'm WVT News.
Well, good for you. Is that a new online news?
Mostly through YouTube and Twitter and things like that. Those are my platforms, so I can disseminate to the public.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice meeting you.
So, but there wasn't a line, right? So I know that